Welcome to MSP Unplugged, episode number 11, Real Threat Hunting. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live show where we discuss different ways to run your IT business, whether it's managed services, consulting, break fix, or anything in between. Our show today is brought to you by Instant House Call, remote support that is easy to use, free auto PC repair to track down and kill unwanted viruses, free sub accounts to let your customers control their own PCs from home. Special discount for listening to MSP Unplugged, half price for the first 3 months or 2 additional months free on a yearly subscription. To claim your discount, go to instanthousecall.com, sign up for your free 15-day trial, then email Corey at instanthousecall.com and tell him you're an MSP Unplugged listener. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Paco Lebron from ProdigyTeks. Paco, how you doing?
Better than good, better than most.
Awesome. And we also have Dave Kleinatland from Huntress Labs. Dave, how you doing?
Doing fantastic.
Awesome. And we also have, last but not least, Tom Lawrence from Lawrence Technology Services. Tom, how you doing?
Things are going good.
Good. All right. We're going to start off with this show as we normally do, and we're going to share a tip or story with us that we could learn from. And Paco, I'm going to go ahead and shoot it off to you.
I wasn't prepared for this. Like I normally am. I actually got 2 tips for this week with everything that's going on with the shelter in places for a lot of states, a lot of remote working, and trying to secure your clients. There is a tool that I was made aware of. Someone actually posted about this in the MSP Unplugged Facebook group called Zero Tier, and it develops some type like a virtual network per se to kind of control the devices that join on, and really helps kind of keep things or keep eyes on things, as a lot of remote workers are either using laptops that they're bringing home and so forth and so on. So this is a great alternative for those smaller clients that may not have the VPN or firewall solutions in place, or maybe a client you didn't get a chance to put a firewall or VPN solution. This is a great alternative. Coincidentally enough, as I was looking into it, a good friend, Tom Lawrence, actually put out a video about a day or two ago about it. He has talked about it before in a previous video. The latest one was actually speaking on Windows to Windows end to end and how that would look and how it's set up. So it's a very great video, very informative. I would definitely have you guys check it out, and also check out Zero Tier. The cool thing about it, as we love about in this show, is it does have a tiered plan. Up to 100 devices are on the free plan. I believe it's 101 on is something like $1 a show or something like that. And then, or I'm sorry, $1. I'm mimicking Jeff, $1 a device. And then I believe it was 500 devices or so. But you'll be able to see the plan information on Zero Tier's website. But check out Tom's video to kind of understand how that whole quote unquote virtual network would work, and see if it's a fit for those that you're trying to secure for your clients. The second piece is our good friends over at Synchro MSP created a playlist on how to implement Synchro features to adapt to the coronavirus and remote working. The reason why I'm mentioning it is the 5 videos, although they do talk about specific features about Synchro, you can take those ideas and apply them to any other PSA or RMM tool. It allows you to kind of get some ideas of maybe if that portal or that tool can allow for this, it's something that you can take on and kind of adapt to it to your own tool set that you're using. So we'll put that YouTube link. It's a playlist on YouTube, on their YouTube channel. I thought it was very informative. 1, because I'm using Synchro, but 2, it's something that a lot of people can apply to on an overall general basis.
Very nice. All right, Dave, I guess we'll go next with you.
All right, sounds good. Couple of things from me as well. One, I guess it would, only make sense to talk a little bit about what's going on in the world. And, I came from an MSP before I ended up here at Huntress Labs. And, in times of crisis, down here in South Louisiana, our most common thing is hurricanes. So there's usually a lot of prep, there's days coming up, things like that. So when customers are trying to make some of these last minute things to get them done and coming to you as an MSP, as your technology provider, try to be careful when setting things up in a hurry. Things get to be kind of in a routine and very tight. Don't compromise on security where you can't. Obviously some compromises have to be made, but be careful about what you do. And then humanizing that element a little bit. It's really easy to get into the grind. So, ask people how they're doing, how their family doing, how things are going. People have a lot going on in their minds, and that's, just who knows what's going on today? Who knows what's going on? They might know somebody that's connected somehow with something crazy or happening. And that kind of leads in a little bit to my next one. Here at Huntress, we really believe in selling through education. If anybody's been to one of our hacking demos or has seen a malware demo or a live demo, you'll notice that most of that's very education focused. And that's part of what I do here on my sort of touring circuit with Huntress is we deliver some of the presentations, and we want to educate people on security and not necessarily really focus on, the old death by PowerPoint slide deck pitch where you kind of drone out, you don't see what's happening. So do that with your customers, sell through education, we actually can help you teach the hacking demo. We actually have a link on our website. We'll make sure we get that in show notes and stuff. But, you can learn how to give a hacking demo on your own, and that selling through education really makes things work. It's kind of a culture that we have here. There's an excellent presentation by Simon Sinek called How Great Leaders Inspire. I don't know, a lot of people have probably seen it, some may not, where they talk about people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And that's just part of how that works in our culture and how that goes. And it's pretty good stuff. It's pretty powerful to kind of dig into and listen and see how this education method works. It's gone really well for us. It worked well for me at the MSP space. So, that's kind of what I have.
Very nice.
I believe the TED Talk he had was called "Start with Why." Simon Sinek. That's and he's got a book about it as well. But it's a great video. I think everyone should watch and get a different concept of things. It's not just for business owners. It's really just a different concept on things. So
yeah, absolutely. I love that book. That was one. There's even an audio version where he reads it, and for whatever reason, just his voice and his kind of inflections and stuff that he puts on it makes it a really, really good listen. And I'd spent a long time.
I gotta reread it. I have it on audio from him. Now I want to listen to it again.
Yeah. Because he's a very good speaker, and the way that he delivers that just makes it that much better.
Mm-hmm.
Very cool. We're going to definitely put that in the show notes for people to check out because, that sounds pretty good to me. All right, and Tom, you're not last, but and you're not least, but you're next.
All right. So if you haven't seen, over at Bleaking Computer, Lawrence Abrams has an excellent and constantly updated list of all the companies offering extended services during this pandemic. And what they've done is a lot of companies are offering like free remote services, extended virtual networking services. There's just a massive list of different software out there. Instead of being like any type of free trial, they're giving it away for like the 90, or probably going to extend it. Some of them already have 6-month trials, and it's all kinds of remote worker software. And this is all a lot of commercially available like products from Adobe, LogMeIn, TeamViewer. All these are offering really extended licenses for free. So they're doing it to help. They know that this was a quick transition. Like all of a sudden, it's like the rug got pulled out under people. What do you do? And you don't want to sacrifice in security. And a lot of people sometimes will go, well, I can just kind of I can just open up RDP or something. Don't do that. So don't skip on security. So that's one thing I'll bring up. And another one is I know there's a lot of listeners in here that are, not necessarily the bigger MSPs, but if you're looking to help the home users, like, you want to help grandma with her computer and you want to do something easy, Chrome Remote Desktop is actually a pretty great tool. As long as 2 people have a Gmail address, you can help people remotely without having to actually get out there. It's a few clicks to set up if they have a Gmail address. Great for home users, not something I recommend really for the commercial market, but if you got to help someone and they're like, well, how do I get on the computer? Just have them go to Chrome Remote Desktop. I just did a tutorial on that video for that as well. So
awesome. We'll definitely post that up there too, because it is a neat little tool, especially for the home users. And
it's free, so it's really hard to beat. Well, no, I will mention too, Zero Tier is open source as well as being that. So their fees are only for some of the hosting, but it's there's actually, I know the developers. I talked to developers. It scales like to thousands of computers. We've actually built some custom solutions with it. That's how we got so familiar with the product. So it's really interesting if you want to dig into it.
Very cool. All right. And my tip for this week is going to be adapt and overcome. And what I mean by that is we're looking at things that happen in this industry and in our lives in general, in our personal lives. And a lot of times we can feel overwhelmed. We can feel like, I don't know what's going to happen on the other side of this. And here's one thing I can guarantee you, there will be another side of this, and we will all get past it. And if you just think back in life when things have happened in your life, I'd love to say, hey, my 50 years on this earth has just been awesome. And I have had zero problems ever. Well, that would be a lie because, periodically in life, things happen, things out of our control, sometimes things we do stupidly that are in our control. So what I would say is don't freak out and just think about what you're going to do to not only move your business forward, but what you're going to do to protect yourself and your family. And there's a lot of people out there that are putting information about, this virus and different things that are going on with the COVID-19. I didn't even know what it stood for until my wife and daughter told me what it stood for. And I was like, oh, that's pretty good. Anyways, and if you want to know what that is, you can look it up. So with this particular pandemic, and if you look at, this is pretty much unprecedented as far as states getting shut down and services getting shut down. But for the most part, if you look at what's going on around you, other than the really, really dumb people who go to the grocery store and grab crap they don't need, other than that, everything else is workable and doable. And really, it's just like your business. Your business is really 90% mindset and about 10% actual work, because the mindset behind what you're going to do and how you're going to do it on a day-to-day basis is way more important, because your attitude when it comes to things like this does matter. And so it's easy to get in with the masses and just kind of go, oh, woe is me, or, oh, I don't know what's going to happen. And I've built my business up over X amount of years and I have the potential of losing it tomorrow. Here's the thing. We've all been in bad situations, monetarily and otherwise, and you can look back on those situations and see that you've gotten through. And if you haven't, then you wouldn't be in business anyways. So there's that. And so just kind of take a step back, think a little bit, do what you need to do to stay safe, do what you need to do to move your business forward. But in today's day and age, I'm going to say that IT, and I hate to say this, but is going to thrive in this particular situation, because our services are not going away. People are going to need our services even more, especially with a lot of the remote work and stuff that's out there. So just as everything's moving around, yes, there are certain companies that are shutting down and having to, stop doing business, but it doesn't mean that all of these companies are going to go away. Again, I would think that last resort for most businesses is to go, you know what, I'm just going to close up shop because I'm done. Because anytime something like this would happen, that could become a reality. And I don't believe that. So anyways, adapt and overcome. Y'all can do it. And we just want to tell you too, if you ever need any help, there's a lot of people in the industry that are way more than willing to help. And if you just want somebody to talk to or whatever, we are here for you. We have the Facebook group, which a lot of you are a part of, and you can ask questions in there. You've got our email addresses. You can ask questions there. I will always respond to every email that I get for as long as I possibly can. No, it's something I do. I take the few minutes it takes, or sometimes half hour, whatever. Anyways, we're here for you, and just wanted to let you know that. So anyways, moving on with that. We'll have some interesting stories on the other side of this, I'm sure. Let's take a quick break, and then we'll get into our main topic. Join us for the 2020 annual TechCon Unplugged, bringing the community together. Get away from your business for a weekend of learning, fun, and some new relationships in a getaway retreat. Join like-minded business owners to help your IT business thrive. Hear from experts and get one-on-one time with peers facing the same challenges you are. Walk away with concrete action items to take your business to the next level. It's September 25th to the 27th, 2020. More towards the end of the year, when I think everything will be just fine. It's in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right here close to me, within a couple hours. Go to TechConUnplugged.com. Tickets are $199. That gives you an all-inclusive weekend, Friday night, Saturday night, and Sunday. All your meals are included. And if it's any, I think everybody said last time that the food was stupendous. I don't even know if that's a word, but they said it was great. So, anyways, go to TechConUnplugged.com today and get your tickets. All right. let's go ahead and go into our main topic. We have Dave, obviously, here is from Huntress Labs, and he's going to be talking about what is Huntress, what do they do. But before we do that, I think everybody already knows Tom for, I think everybody's met Tom at one point or another, whether it's through this show or his YouTube channel. But Dave, can you give us a quick background story of where you come from and how did you get here?
Wow, that's an easy one. No, I've been in front of a computer. I don't know. Dad sat me down in front of a computer when I was probably 3, 4, 5 years old, and I don't really think I've gotten up since. So the love of tech has kind of been around, just in my entire life. Like sure some people can see what's going on here. We can go all the way back to the early 80s and all the way through, every computer that I have here was something that I used at some point in my time and enjoyed and has memories. And that's kind of how I ended up here. Most recently, prior to Huntress, I was director of technical services at an MSP here in South Louisiana. Technical services director. They're managing, forward-facing product line stuff, our support staff. Before that job, I was an IT director at a general contractor. So some interesting challenges there, usually revolving around fax machines. And then prior to that, was doing MSP work before we were called MSPs. So I'm not really sure what we were back then. We were just, the IT company or whatever, whatever phrase they had for us. But as time kind of moved on and I developed sort of a love and in-depth kind of want-to-know understanding of security and whatnot. Met the Huntress guys at an event, and it's just been, the rest is history. I guess that was almost 8 months ago now. So here we are.
Very cool. So what is Huntress, and what does it do for the IT business owner and their clients?
Absolutely. So we fall in the managed detection and response category, or MDR. And I know that that's probably one of the more vague categories of all the different IT tools that are out there. So we got to get a little bit specific in that. And, Huntress is looking for methods of persistence. So malicious actors or hackers or whatever you want to call them are going to spend their time trying to get around the tools in your preventative stack. So whether that's everything, you've got your endpoint detection, your antivirus, your anti-malware, whatever it is. And, they're social engineering your users by phishing and whatnot. And once they get on a machine, they want to make sure they stay there. If I had to get someone to click a link every day, I would be the world's most inefficient hacker, right? So once I get in, I want to make sure that I stay in. And I do that by creating persistence. And that's another kind of vague category. We call them footholds. Persistence seems to be the industry term. So APT, advanced persistent threat. The P is what we're focused on. So everything that starts automatically on a machine, whether that's a startup folder, a run key, things like that, we're going to go ahead and scan all that information. We take that in our cloud, and then our human team of awesome threat researchers will dive into that information and send you incidents right in there. And what that does for the IT business owner is it allows you to use maybe your lowest tier of labor instead of a higher tier labor to remediate some of these security incidents. It gives you a little bit of that extra insight and peace of mind beyond your preventative stack. A lot of people, there's a lot of awesome players in a preventative game, right? Like there's so many tools out there. You can, they're just everywhere and they're all pretty good at what they do. But once we kind of get that prevention, we need a way to deal with that. And it's, information that comes from us is actionable intelligence. It's ready to go. It's got step-by-step instructions on how to remediate. We have our new assisted remediation platform in beta where you can click a button and approve actions for our agent to occur. So it really simplifies remediation of some of these pretty complex events. That's sort of the elevator pitch, I guess.
Okay. And Tom, how did you come to know of Huntress, and what kind of drew you to them?
It was actually some of their threat research posts. As I create a lot of content around some of those topics when I'm diving into how something occurred, kind of debriefing it and putting it together as a video, their source was top notch. Like they had done the work and actually shown the work, and that was interesting to me because so many people, there's bad actors and they just raise the alarm, but they don't give you the details, and the details matter to me more than anything. I think when you're dealing with any type of cybersecurity, deeply technical thing, the news already gives you the headline. I want to know the how in there. I think the first intersection was the incident with Kaseya a number of years back, where I think it was a plug-in with the ConnectWise and Kaseya, and I think they had some of the most solid research on it. So, but it also eventually led me to my company uses their product on all of our endpoints. So,
okay. And Paco, obviously, you set up this whole interview here, and what's your understanding of what kind of drew you to Huntress?
The big piece of it was more on what if the AV fails, and that was kind of the bigger piece of it. I forgot where I was. I was at one conference. I can't remember who the presentation was. It might have been DattoCon, and they were mentioning, and I forgot who the AV was, but they basically were mentioning how, nowadays where the future is going, EDR/MDR is really where that's kind of where the field or the industry is kind of go. Like if you need to protect yourself, you need some type of detection and response on your endpoints, whether that's MDR or EDR. The main difference on why I implemented Huntress was not only just the EDR component where a lot of AVs have, or next gen AVs have, where they can use AI, but there is that human element that Huntress has, which is doing that real threat hunting. So that's what made me more comfortable in deploying it, because, if something, passed through the AV I had at the time, or something weird is happening on the PC, I'll get an email that an investigation was being done by an actual human, that there was something that got flagged by the AI or by the advanced learning that it was doing. It found out that it was either a bad actor, you need to take some precautions and remediation to take care of it, or it was something that was known, just happened to, miss a bit or something of that nature. It was reclassified, and then it's documented on how it was classified, and kind of go from there. So that was really what really impressed me about Huntress as a solution. And then as I deployed it to all my endpoints during the first 30-day trial, or I forgot what they had at the time, it flagged about 5 or 6 endpoints that had either high, low, and I forgot what the other middle one is, but basically critical, high, and low. And there was one critical and several in the high and lows. So when I went into it, it found one system that had a fileless malware on it. And the specific wording was, you can remediate it, but we need you to wipe and reload it is our best suggestion. So that was one of those where it just sold me once it found that, and took the necessary precautions. So I felt like I had backup. I had a partner that was looking out for me. If my AV failed, I had another set of eyes per se that was looking at my endpoints, and I can act accordingly.
Now, when you say what if, you mean when your AV fails?
Yeah.
Because we know that they're all,
there's those who get hacked and those who don't. Yes, we know the phrase.
There's nothing's perfect, and we know that. So to have layered security is going to be the best option for most people. So that's very interesting that they're looking at stuff. So Dave, when you guys are not just your tagline is real threat hunting, more than just alerts type thing, but so you're not just alerting people what's going on out there, but you're kind of paying attention to what's going on in the background, and are able to give somebody something to look at to where they can go in and attack it and do what they need to do to fix the problem, because most of the time that probably would have just gotten forgotten and just sat there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. It's like we talked a little bit earlier, the antivirus stuff, the no news is good news from a product like that, right? Like you're not, whereas the Huntress product, we're giving you the service that we're providing is in the alert that we give you has those step-by-step instructions. All the really, you don't have to classify it or figure it out or try to get to the bottom of it. It's actionable intelligence with exactly what needs to be done. So we're able to help, use that lower tier of labor. Most of our remediation instructions are delete this file, delete this service, delete this scheduled task, that kind of stuff. So that's something that even a help desk analyst or a tier 1 tech can perform. And once they perform those actions and our agent sees that those agents that those changes have been made, we'll move it over to the resolve category on our end automatically. So you'll get confirmation in the portal that what you did was actually what needed to be done. And unfortunately, there are some cases where you do have to wipe. I mean, anytime someone gets that full elevated access to a machine and does whatever they want to it, they can make changes that Huntress nor your AV nor any other product may see. The extent of the damage is unknown.
Gotcha. Well, and that's great to have that type of information to be able to make a decision, or almost have a decision made for you in order to do what you need to do, instead of sitting there going, okay, what do I do in this situation? And that's going to save you a lot of time, which I think everybody's looking for is more time, right? In order to move on with their business.
And part of it's really interesting. Like Dave said, even a level 1 tech has no problem doing these, because the instructions are literally copy and paste and drop on the command line, deleting the files, making those registry changes and things like that. It's been very helpful because it's so specific. And I mean, not like just the file, but the path, the /user/ the right username, where that persistence was, things like that. And those are very helpful for the techs. Then they can right away, especially if there's multiple profiles on a computer, you can identify which profile has it, which can lead you to the investigative part of figuring out how it got there. Because obviously other layers failed. Okay, did the spam filter fail? What made them save it there? And that becomes very actionable intelligence for us if we see that.
Now, from your guys, and Dave, I'll ask you first, from your opinion, where are these threats coming in predominantly from today?
Oh man. Probably if without actually running real numbers or looking at it, if I had to say it's the most common stuff that I'm seeing is phishing attacks, mail spam coming in, through an email, a cleverly crafted document, a document with a macro enabled Word document or Excel document or something shady going on there, and a very well written, hey, this document's secured, you need to click enable editing to be able to view it, Mr. Super Secure or Mrs. Super Secure, user. So that's and they're getting really, the fake Microsoft login pages, all the graphics and things they're using inside their stuff is getting pretty convincing now. Aside from that, we still see folks who have already, we don't, I mean, their MSP does, but folks who have RDP open to the world with nothing, and then someone gets brute forced, and they get in there and they can hang out there for days, months, weeks before they actually do their damage. And, that's kind of what we're seeing. But it's so much easier to social engineer a human than it is to hack a computer, I think. So that's probably where you're really getting the bulk of those attacks from.
Yeah, I would say that it still seems like emails is probably one of the most prevalent ways, and somebody has to physically click on something to go, yeah, you can have access to my machine no matter what.
Yeah, no problem. Just click this. It'll be fine. We'll fix it all up for you.
Tom, what would you say?
Email still being very, very dominant, like you said, the phishing links. And it's one of the reasons we this year have started really pushing our clients for more education on email. Some of them just don't like to spend the time and money on it all the time, but we're like telling them, like, look, this is how they're doing this. This is the easiest way in, because someone, we had a couple people get phished. They were a large property management company, because the people were sending attachments about properties, and they go, oh, just download this executable and you can view the property information. So there's, definitely things like that going on quite a bit. We do run into not as much any managed client we have, but the brute forcing thing. We had a phone server we took over for a client, and the phone server was completely open to the world and it was making phone calls, and their bill got really big. That was the indicator there was a problem. They were using it for one of the robo spam calls when we got in there and started investigating it. But we told them their network had to be rebuilt because they had RDP open. They had the same password for everything. So we're like, we don't know where all they are. We know they're in the phones.
One password. No, that's an actual piece of software you can use, not what you should be doing. Oh, gosh. Paco, how about you?
Which part?
Where do you see most of your threats still coming into your client base?
Oh, yeah, it's the user. It's the I'm trying to think of the acronym that the ID10 error.
ID10T. Yeah.
So, but no, it's seriously, it's definitely email. I think email is the biggest piece, and it's either phishing in some shape or way or form, or it's phishing through a browser that they clicked on a link or an ad or something, thinking that they're getting a deal or whatever when they were browsing. I mean, it's always usually phishing attempts that cause a lot of the big problems that I've seen. And I'm piloting a couple products right now for some anti-phishing stuff, but that's really where a lot of, I feel like, are coming in through, because people are just letting them.
Okay. Now, Dave, we hear things of AI, artificial intelligence, and we've got all these other different keywords out there. But it looks like you use not only algorithms, but as Thomas said, also that human intelligence base. So how does that all work in conjunction with each other to find those threats?
Yeah, absolutely. When I hear the word AI, I immediately think of like Skynet and the Terminator and all that. Like, that's kind of what I think in AI. And obviously, we take in a lot of information. We have our agent on, bunches of endpoints. We get a lot of information. So yes, we have some algorithms and whatnot that we do have to use. We do use some services, some file reputation services. There's a virus total link to every binary that we hash in every report that we send out. So that's valuable information. It's good information that's out there. It's not the only information we use, of course, but once we help filter all that out, humans can sift through that. It's very easy for a human to look at something in the full context. Like, a human can just glance at something. Like, one of the example tickets we use in one of our decks is, it shows a program called C:\Intel:\keylog.exe. I don't have to hash that. I don't have to look at it. I don't even have to think. Like, that is clearly bogus, like right out of the gate. So, it's that context that humans can, where we just glance, like, oh, that's shade. Anything like random letters and numbers.exe and some users app data roaming, like, that's suspicious, right? Like, we have to look into that. So yeah, that's sort of where the human element comes in. We're able to look at that. And on the backside, what that does is it ensures that, any alert you get from us is actionable intelligence. It's almost certainly not going to be a false positive, because someone has taken, a real person has taken a look at that and processed it in, whatever way they needed to make that determination. So that's what it really comes down to is where we as humans are far better at seeing the whole picture. I'm not going to understand a file hash as a human. I see that long string, doesn't mean anything to me, but I know keylog.exe is not something I need to go dig too deep on.
That's very good. Yeah, there's some of the common sense stuff out there. You definitely have to have, the human element makes it a lot better, because we're intelligent, right? The computers, whether people believe this or not, are only as smart as the humans who designed it. Or
the human sitting in front of it.
Yes, there you go. What were you gonna say, Tom?
I think a lot of people don't realize that your best AI systems can't really outsmart a toddler. This is one of those things that once you've worked in this field or worked with programming, you realize, humans are just amazing pattern recognition engines. And you take a trained person. This is another thing I really like about Huntress. I spent time with their people who do the threat ops and threat hunting to watch some of their processes and just kind of have a table talk discussion about it. It's really interesting because, just like you said, you can have these things that get through AI. And we've seen, these companies, because AI is a buzzword that makes VCs throw money at you, so they tout AI first. But honestly, the human element, AI, to me, as a hacker in the back of my head, I just go, AI is something I can game. It's going to take defined parameters and create rules around them. Well, great. I'm going to go drag a bunch of cell phones in a wagon, if you didn't see this, and tell Google there's traffic stuck on the street. People need AI systems all the time, and you kind of need that person, because any one of us would see a guy with a wagon full of cell phones and go, that's funny, but Google said, no, there's traffic on the street. And there's been a few people who have hacked things like that. So anytime there's the more human element, I think that's important. Now, you do need systems to sift data, because obviously we don't need all the ones that are known bads coming at us, so we can focus on the more intelligible actions. But it was cool watching the threat ops people and seeing how they look at those patterns. And it takes a human element, but you do it right, you get a much more higher level of accuracy.
Very good. Okay, so now, Dave, is there other things that we haven't touched on as of yet that Huntress can do for us, and as far as finding those threats or other threats we haven't talked about that people are seeing out there?
Yeah, you mentioned fileless malware. We talked a little bit about that before. That's something that it's fairly new in the space. Obviously, it's commonplace now, but out of all the threats we kind of handle, and they're getting more creative with it. I'm seeing things where persistence is created in a manner I never really even thought was possible. Windows Management Instrumentation, WMI, which I'm sure a lot of folks are familiar with. Normally it's this lovely little thing you can use to pull information like disk serial numbers or motherboard serial numbers or data about free space, and RMMs use it as part of the scripting in the background to receive information. But you can actually establish persistence and run whatever kind of code you want with WMI. And a lot of products don't even know to look there. So that it's when you start discovering things like that, they're pretty crafty and creative. On one of those WMI instances we dealt with, someone had a next gen AV product that said, "Hey, look, PowerShell is running. We're stopping it," but that was it. It couldn't tell them where it was coming from, where it was going, how it was being run. Whereas in the report we were able to produce, that was something where a human had to do some digging. It wasn't something that was like super obvious. A day one algorithm didn't catch that. So when we start looking at these new, there's a lot of ways, but there's only so many ways you can start something up on a machine. We're looking at a lot of those spaces. So when we see something new or different, that human element is able to, that we keep talking about, they're able to look at that and go, "Oh wow, that's new, that's different, that's exciting. Let's open an investigation on it and sandbox this thing and see what it's doing." The other thing that I guess we haven't touched on that Huntress does is we have a lot of like enablement materials for our partners. We have a bunch of co-branded marketing assets. We have a video. We have like a 30-second video. It's sort of like a Huntress commercial, and you can put your logo and website and stuff going to it. We have a lot of those security education things that I talked about during my tip. We have the hacking demo. We have a video you can kind of do and narrate, about a RDP type attack. So all those partner enablement things is not only educating our partners, but helping them educate their customers too. So it kind of comes full circle.
That is excellent. Yeah, that's some of those things out there. I think you definitely need that, and you need a company behind you that's going to be able to produce those types of results, because again, a lot of the automated equipment or software that we use, it's only going to go so far, and it's built to catch things. And as things progress, they will have new algorithms or new pieces of definitions that they will call that say, "Hey, we've seen this before. If we see this again, here's what it is." But a lot of times that stuff has already done its damage, or especially like you said with the fileless stuff there, it's just sitting in the background waiting.
Yeah, and it's just those new and creative ways of the entire payload lives in the registry somewhere. Like it's PowerShell code that's hidden in a registry key that's buried somewhere, or it's something like that. And there's no file on a disk to scan to hash to tie to a definition to say, "Oh, that's your problem." I guess I probably should have brought this up earlier. Huntress was founded by 3 ex-NSA folks that were, that spent a lot of their time doing this. And once they got through someone's preventative stack, they realized they weren't challenged. Like once they were in, and that's why we exist. And that's where a lot of the how to look for the shady comes from around here. It doesn't help that some of us that are here too, besides them, are a little shady, but
sometimes you got to have the shady people to help figure out where the bad stuff's coming from, right?
Absolutely.
So, there's a lot of things that you can look at when you're looking at the threat assessment of your clients' machines. And it seems like you guys have nailed a lot of great stuff, from the get-go, in just a great way to handle it. Tom, now you said you've been using your product for a while on your endpoints, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure, even as thorough as you are, you've found some things that have popped up where you go, "Well, how'd that happen?"
Well, so our favorite thing is Huntress is part of the stack that we load when we're doing the onboarding of new clients, when we do takeovers from other MSPs, and we find all kinds of interesting things. Now, something Huntress flags that always makes us laugh, completely irrelevant to flag this, but it's the Windows cracking tools that we find. we were joking, like we kind of wish it didn't have to notify that, because the challenge is we just took over a client. The first, they already had failure with their previous MSP. The next bad news they have is you've got to buy a lot of licenses because none of yours are legit. And we would find that. So, and as much as I know the right thing to do is immediately get them, we all live in the real world and go, they're going to do it on their next budget cycle because there was already a budget to take over. So it will have that alert there for a while and hang it out until we can get them all fixed. But yeah, it does definitely discover things. It gives us a level of confidence when you have something that is hard to explain on a computer, because like Paco had said, sometimes you're worried that your AV may have missed something. I like it because it's one more layer of protection. So no matter which AV we've used, as a matter of fact, we've switched which AV we use in our back end. And the new AV found, this or that and the other, but didn't ever find anything that Huntress didn't already know about. And that's when we've had a really strong level of confidence in the product because of that.
We got a question in the chat room from John Reed, and he says, does this go on servers as well?
Yeah, absolutely. We're a Windows-based agent. We'll run on anything from Vista 2008 era all the way up to current 2019, including the core versions of those, the non-GUI versions of those newer versions of server.
I mean, a lot of people look at servers and they think they're this different animal, and they do some different things for sure, but the underlying code is usually an operating system. It's just with some things thrown on top, really. So a lot of different things.
Yeah, especially in the later versions of Windows, the more recent ones, it's more of a merged platform with just, kind of different functionality of just different software that's installed on top of the OS. As far as we're concerned, they're all the same. It's a Windows machine. We don't care if it's a server or workstation. Our pricing even reflects that. We don't charge more for servers or less for workstations or anything like that. It's just per endpoint.
Now, is this something worth to put on a server, or is it better to have it on a workstation?
Absolutely. We recommend it on anything running Windows,
Okay.
Because anything running Windows can be, I guess if something was locked in a closet and didn't have internet and didn't do anything, you might have a use case where you wouldn't want protection on it. But anywhere that a Windows computer has a human in front of it, we would recommend it.
So,
or not in front of it, but
kind of
unable to interact with it.
Right.
And something else here related to that, the research that Huntress had done that led me to them, it's because of the discovery of some things that were running on servers. So a few years ago, what was really popular? Bitcoin and all the people deploying miners. That's actually what they were using. They weren't deploying malware. It wasn't the crypto locker stuff we see now. It was people deploying miners. They were deploying them to servers. So if that particular people would have only had it on the endpoints, the servers is where they knew the horsepower was, and that's where they were running it. So it's like you said, there's no price difference. So we automatically install it on every endpoint at a client. It's just part of the whole stack. It's by the way, it is really easy to deploy, like through a PowerShell script. There's all your different MSP endpoint tools. There's a lot of different ways you can quickly deploy it. It's quiet and small. It doesn't disturb the user. That's the important part. No rebooting necessary.
Nice.
It's not like installing an AV.
Yeah, we've absolutely tried to make it super easy to install. We want it to be the easiest product you've ever installed. We've got a deployment method for all the popular tools and even some of the unpopular ones. And if we don't have one and you sign up and we'll make every effort to happen. PowerShell is probably the most common way, because even a lot of the RMMs now are switching to using PowerShell as their backend. I think there's only a handful of them that still kind of have their own language, but a lot of them are PowerShell based now. So we have a main generic PowerShell script that can easily be modified to roll out just about any way you'd want.
Yeah, you got quite a few tools that they integrate with for the incident response or reporting. So if something does pick up, some of the integrations will just automatically open up a ticket, or they'll open information. They do have integration with a couple PSAs, RMMs, and Duo for MFA. So they have quite a few of those. But if he's mentioned, if you don't have it, they do have good old email that can just go right into the ticketing system to create that ticket if an alert comes. So
there's 10 different ways to skin a cat, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
maybe not that we're into skinning cats, people, but just saying. All right, let's take a quick break, and I want to mention something here, and then we'll, if we want to gather up some thoughts and kind of take this in the same direction we've been going. I'm finding this fascinating because I'm always interested in how computers are getting taken advantage of today and what we can do to protect them. But I want to take a moment and thank Keith and Carrie Rosa they went to, Keith actually, he got a hold of me on Facebook and he said, I want to give a one-time donation to the show. And as a lot of people know, the only way we've had for donations in the past is Patreon. And that's a monthly, or actually a showly, thing where we do $1 a show. But he wanted to send a one-time they wanted to send a one-time donation. And so I said, you know what? I don't really have anything set up. I guess I kind of did. I had PayPal, but I wanted to make it as easy as possible. So I found a new service out there called Buy Me a Coffee, buymeacoffee.com. And they gave us a donation over there and basically bought us 33 cups of coffee. It's not for coffee, but it was actual money that they sent. So definitely appreciate that for supporting the show. And so I'm going to have that in the show links for anybody that wants to do a one-time donation like that. We appreciate everyone and their efforts in supporting us. And hopefully you're getting something out of this. And I know I am. So that's why I show up every week. All right. So, Dave, now, is there anything else that we haven't covered as far as the threat assessment landscape? What things should we be looking out for? How can we better protect ourselves with a product like Huntress, but also just common sense things that we should be doing?
So just how to be good at security, period. That's actually kind of our mission. It's obviously, we have a product and we sell it to fill a certain need, but, I keep going back to a lot of the education and stuff that we do. One of the tools that we have is our guide to selling cybersecurity. And we go over all the different points of the stack. We talk about, all those different layers and what they're good at and what they may not cover and why they're part of a layer and why they're not the end all be all of this one solution. The defense in depth is the term that you hear everyone use all the time. And that's really becoming more and more true as time goes on, because things get different, things get new, things get really weird. We start to see all kind of interesting stuff. So, having a well laid out layers, well stacked, that's nice and robust and around, can help catch things from different angles. Something I've actually heard our CEO say once was, don't spend 80% of your money solving 20% of your problem. Look around, try to diverse a little bit, get things in all those different categories, make sure, and that's kind of where we fit in. Our product is priced in a manner where it is meant to be part of a layered stack. It's obviously not an end all be all tool for everything out there. I mean, we're not an antivirus. We won't replace that. So it's being able to attack all those things at different angles, all the way from, the layer 8 problem, right there in the chair, all the way through all the different layers of the stack, catching the email, catching those endpoints, catching the end user education. I mean, that's a huge one. That was a big one for me when I was at the MSP, was trying to get people doing that end user education, because that's obviously the weakest link in most of the in technological cases.
I think the biggest piece too, kind of going off of that, is the reporting that you guys give. I think the reporting, which I believe is brandable, you can correct me if I'm wrong, if that's co-brandable as well. But the reporting, not only is it very vivid and gives a lot of information of what was done either on a quarterly basis or on a monthly basis of the agent being installed. But I love the little blurbs that it gives from the analyst, and it says the analyst notes for that month or the analyst notes for that quarter. And it kind of explains kind of the current landscape or a quick tip that kind of goes on. And I think a lot of us as IT business owners always get the question of, well, what are you guys doing for us? Everything's working. We're not really, why are we paying you? And I really like these, because not only can you kind of display these, or you can just take that information if you're kind of doing your quarterly or annual meetings with your client and just kind of explain, look, this is what we're doing, etc. But did you know, was it Emotet or Emo? How do you pronounce it?
Emotet.
Yeah, Emotet. That's going around, and why it's attacking the banking sector this month or this quarter really badly, or et cetera. And it's got a lot of little great quick tips to kind of inform and educate your client that, hey, we are doing something, we're aware of what's going on, and it helps gives you a little bit more credibility with that reporting. I've learned to enjoy that the reporting as well.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, the reports are pretty awesome. They are co-brandable, absolutely. When you upload your logo, you actually you upload your logo into our portal. You choose your like favorite accent color. You know, you just like it's a little color wheel or an HTML color code for your company, and it actually changes all the highlight colors on the reports. It has your customer's name right on it, and we give a nice high level overview in a paragraph of what went on that month in Huntress. And then since we know that most people aren't going to read that, we have a super pretty graphic right under it where we funnel it down. Like we start at the top where we show this is all the stuff that our automation has scanned, and then we work through the human elements all the way down to how many incidents were reported. And then every month we have a nice, kind of a blurb from the analyst, just kind of what's going on in security this month, what we've seen, what we've happened. And that way you can. They do quarterly and monthly. Paco's right on the ball with that. He knows the stuff. He knows what we're doing too. And you can either have them automatically emailed out every month, or you can deliver them with your QBRs, your client, when you're having that sit down meeting or that virtual meeting now with our social distancing. You can deliver that in that method, and it's a really good deliverable that people can actually see what's going on, because coming from the MSP life, I know exactly everything's been going great. What am I even paying you guys for? What are you doing? This is it. And it's the same thing when things aren't going right. It's what am I paying you for? So at least on the side, when everything's going well, you can kind of help validate that number of what's been going on and how you've been doing it.
Yeah, coming in with the attitude sometimes where you go, well, here, let me shut my stuff off for 10 days and you'll be giving me a call.
Right.
You can't necessarily do that. So to do something preemptive and actually have some documentation of what is going on in the background that they may or may not understand. And for most people, it's great for us because we can read it and have a basic understanding of it. But the client's going to look at it and go, well, they must be doing something, right? So it's a win-win situation all the way around. Tom, do you actually sit down with your clients and give them this report and say, do they ever ask for it?
Not as much. That's one of the things when I do some consulting work, helping other MSPs, there's always this assumption that everyone wants to see the report. And I always jokingly bring up one of my clients who says, look, I have enough reports, because he has a trucking company. He goes, they give me fuel reports, efficiency reports. He goes, look, guys, I gotta make this next deal. So I try not to ever overload my clients. I always ask if they need anything, or you have questions about anything we're doing. We have our discussions with them. I keep it very friendly. You just go to lunch with them. It does not have to be a formal meeting with a schedule and agenda. I'll go to lunch and what can we do better? Did you notice us not following up fast enough? How's my team doing? Those kind of personal things I have. And I actually have, I think, one client that asked a little bit about it when we were talking about things we found on our network, but it's not something that we automatically send every month. But I do, it is nice. It's clean and brandable, like you said as well, but it's nice to have, but I don't do it all the time. Usually it's upon request more so than drop it on a table.
Well, I think I'd love to have the information just to pass along verbally to the client and go,
Yes.
Hey, by the way, I don't know if you knew this, but here's what's been going on, because obviously we're out there putting out fires all the time. We don't have time to sit there and create these reports and gather this information. So it makes our lives a lot easier for somebody, a product that we're using, to already do it for us. So at least we have that top of mind that we can pass along to our clients. All right. Dave, is there anything else that we have not covered that Huntress does for us, or any other thoughts when it comes to, threat analysis? I mean, we could probably go on forever. I mean, there's all kinds of different things that are going on in the world, and it's becoming a more dangerous world cybersecurity wise. And so that's why this is a big thing. I know there's a lot of products out there that are trying to be the all in all, and I just don't see it. I actually like the layered approach that you can put what we call a stack. I don't know why the hell we call it that, but whatever. And we put this thing on there, and then, we've got all these different products that are helping protect us at different levels. And it's helping us day to day. And I will be honest with you, it's funny because a lot more companies, their software products are actually working well together versus, I don't know, 10, 15 years ago, that wasn't always the case. We had everybody fighting for resources and all that kind of stuff. So it's nice to have the many different pieces of software that we use to help protect our clients, and that they don't interfere with each other as much, which is good.
Yeah, absolutely. let me think here. I'm trying to gather some of the thoughts on that. You know, it's you mentioned tools working together. You know, that's something that we're pretty proud of with our tools, and we don't interfere with anything in your stack right now. You know, that's. And, you know, before it was the age old thing of like, oh, I know what's wrong with this computer. Someone has 2 antivirus products on it, and they're battling to the death over, you know, who's going to overheat the CPU first. And, you know, that has changed a lot. Absolutely. You know, things have to, you know, we have a lot of agent based tools and whatnot out there because you have to have an agent to get the information that you need. You know, especially kind of the stuff that we're looking at with all the things in the startup profiles. And then you've got your DNS protection agent, you've got your endpoint agent, you've got your RMM agent, you know, and a lot of those tools are getting better and lightweight and more efficient. So that kind of those tools working together and developing, you know, that defense in depth strategy is very important. I don't see defense in depth going anywhere anytime soon. You know, a lot of, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on in the IT space and MSP space of tools and vendors and stuff getting hyper consolidated, and a lot of tools getting mashed into this one thing. And, you know, and I don't, you know, typically hear super positive feedback about this one big tool that does everything. You know, a lot of tools kind of spread out and do things a little bit better than others. And I like to have those options, because if someone learns a method of attacking one thing, then there's 3 to 4 different methodologies with multiple things on there to have to get around. So it does make it a little bit more difficult. You know, and as times move, you know, Huntress is changing too. You know, we have some things in our pipeline that are coming that are going to help. You know, we've got some stuff we're doing with application whitelisting and auditing. You know, you'll be able to whitelist something to where we won't report on it, but that turns into us being able to say, hey, we see that you're running RMM number 1, but we see an agent for RMM number 2 on it. We'll be able to alert you on stuff like that. Or, you know, hey, we know you use remote tool number 1 and we see remote tool number 2 installed. Like, is that cool? Is that legit? And because we have humans analyzing that now, there's been a couple of cases where we will do that manually. Like, hey, we see you have this, but we just saw like 3 installs of that. Is that okay? And we've had a few people like, oh no, that's from an old MSP. We took this client over from someone. We need to uninstall those. So some of those, you know, we're going to move with the crowd as you know, we're going to see what's going on, and we're going to move with that to add more features to our product. But we don't want to lose focus on, you know, me coming from MSP life. I know alert fatigue is a real thing. It's something that you can suffer from. And so far I haven't found any medication you can take for it. So we don't want to give anybody alert fatigue, you know, unnecessarily. So we want to make sure that we stay true to those values and make sure that we're providing something that's, you know, actionable intelligence, something where, you know, anybody at your organization can perform that, and just keep things easy. That, you know, part of what we live here is, you know, security for the 99%, right? Like cybersecurity for the 99%. We want everyone to have it at their fingertips. And that's just, you know, it enables people, it helps them sell, it helps them keep their clients safe. And, you know, if everybody makes a few bucks at the end of the day because of it, that's not too bad either.
I like that approach. Tom, any lasting thoughts?
You know, something he had said there that's really important is not all malware is always malware. And what I mean by that is I've done a couple of videos on this particular topic, and one of them I've done with their CEO, Kyle. It's because some, you know, MSPs that have lost control of their tools. Those tools can be used for the deployment. And this is kind of what Dave was really referencing here, essentially saying without saying, but when someone loses control, you can end up with like, hold on, there's more than one of these tools installed. And then that tool can be used to leverage the next thing. And it is a legit tool. That's why it's still actionable intelligence that it's suddenly installed. So it's kind of some weird stuff, but it's interesting because I've talked to the folks over at Huntress, and it's like you said, seeing things in the pipeline is kind of interesting. They've got some neat ideas because they're always thinking ahead on that. So it's really cool.
I like that approach. Yeah, because the landscape is changing, like you guys have said, and it's something you have to stay ahead of. And it's great to have somebody in your corner that's doing that for you on a regular basis, so that when the next big thing, whatever it is, comes along, they'll be there to go, hey, did you notice? And you'll go, oh crap, I didn't notice. I notice now.
And one thing I've noticed just in the last, you know, I've been with Huntress almost 8 months now. And in one of the presentations I give, it's based on attacks that we've seen targeted toward MSPs. If you rewind back to the Bitcoin thing that Tom mentioned earlier, you know, attackers were using an RMM's vulnerability. And in a lot of cases, it's not vulnerabilities that are their problem. It's usually stolen credentials or something like that. But, you know, we're moving from that to Bitcoin to, we saw someone take control of a remote access tool and go by each computer one by one and ransom it very slowly. And then just a couple of months later, we saw them learn that there's a spot in the tool you can check a box and just run code on all the machines at once. So they're learning our tools as MSPs. They're learning the MSP tool stack. They know how to use all of the tools that you use. And if you don't protect it as you should, if you don't have your two-factor turned on, you don't have your reasonable protections in place to keep someone, you're not auditing old accounts from employees who've left. If you're not doing that stuff, as soon as they get in, they already know what to do. They've got a library of scripts ready to go. They just hit the button. Like, they're just waiting. Like, when they see it, they're like, oh, I know what that is. I'm just going to do it. So that's something that's the abuse of trusted applications and processes is probably the next biggest thing that I see, aside from, someone getting phished. It's that the tools are trusted. And in some, like, we saw one where they pushed everything out, through an RMM. And even though it was malware, there was a whitelist rule that said, hey, if the RMM pushes it out, it's legit. Don't worry about it. Oh. So tools like that, if the stuff's not configured in a way that's secure, you can't be sloppy with it. Because as soon as you slip, then an attacker, a hacker, whatever you want to call them, a malicious actor, there's so many words now, they'll take advantage of it. They've got turnkey scripts. They've got push button stuff ready to go. They're ruthless and efficient. And you see that, like, you're just progressing over seeing them use a tool 6 months ago and then seeing them use it now. It's a very different, it's a day one employee and a 6 month later employee. Think about how that transitions when you have someone working for you using an RMM or a PSA, how good they are on day one and how good they are 6 months later. The attackers are doing the same thing.
And it's the normal cat and mouse game, and obviously you got to keep up with the mice out there and be able to capture them when they're doing things. And so that's that's good. Paco, any lasting thoughts?
I think probably what I would leave is for those considering Huntress. One thing that the sales guy over at Huntress, and I forgot his name, I think it was David, who said this, and it really woke me up. And it was, even if you decide not to utilize Huntress, I'm going to leave you with this. If there's other products that offer EDR or MDR that are kind of trying to include it or trying to catch up with what Huntress does, know this. If a hacker or just a bad guy out in general can get around the AV and the next gen AV, they're probably going to figure out how to get around their MDR, their EDR stack as well, if they figured out how to get around the AV side. Wouldn't you want to have a different company or a different set of eyes versus the one that's acting as one of the other layers to protect you? And that really struck with me, because it was like, he got a great point. It's one of those where, what if one of the lines of defense gets overrun? Are you confident that that company spent enough time, spent enough resources to build out that other piece? Whereas Huntress, that's what they're concentrating on. That's their bread and butter. That's what they started from day one. And, and those who don't know about Huntress, Google them. I mean, you can see all the things that they're involved with, not even just as a tool or as a service, but what they're doing to help our industry and what they're looking at and what they're doing as a whole to help the entire industry as a whole. So that's what I would just leave for that, for those that are considering it. That was something that stuck with me right before I signed up.
Now, Paco, what does EDR and MDR stand for?
Endpoint detection response and managed detection and response.
Okay. All right, thank you. Because I didn't know. You throw out these acronyms, and you know how I am with acronyms. It's just like MSP is a stupid acronym, even though we name our show MSP Unplugged. There's a reason for that.
I agree. Dave kind of mentioned it in the beginning of the show, but that's it.
He was just testing you. He was making sure you were paying attention.
That's right. It's like, hey, well, I learned something new.
It's all funny. It's all funny.
Well, and I know that Huntress is. You guys are part of a consortium too that has basically pulled together with a lot of other companies out there that you're basically have brought things to light that people should be paying attention to. And I love that in this industry, and I don't want to say for once, because there are people that work together, but it's like you guys work together with a lot of different companies out there to come together and figure out what's the next thing, what should you be looking for. And so I think that's the landscape when it comes to cybersecurity. Where we need to be at this point is we have to be at that point where we're willing to work together. No matter what products you're using out there, we need to let everybody know what's going on. It's kind of like back in the old days. A lot of people might not have known this, but there's actually only a couple of antivirus companies that actually did their own definitions. Everybody else used to grab those definitions and use them because it was the same stuff. Why do you have 50 different antivirus companies pulling that stuff out? And then some of them were lazy, and that's why they're no longer around. And then some of them are still with us, which I don't understand. But anyways, so
that's a whole nother show.
That's a whole nother show. All about antivirus. Okay. All right. So with that, man, a lot of great information. Dave, I appreciate you coming on the show. If people wanted to get involved and find out where they could get Huntress, how to get signed up, where would they go, and what do they need to do?
Real easy. Huntress.com. We have a free trial button right on our website. It's a 21-day free trial on limited agents. So you can put out as many endpoints as you want. We encourage people to, engage with us. I promise our sales process isn't pushy. We're not going to call you 400 times or beat you up or wear you out or stuff like that. It's definitely reach out to us. We're probably one of the most easygoing vendors you'll work with. We want to put our product in your hands. We want you to do it. That's what the 21-day free trial is for. Like I said, it's unlimited endpoints. We'll do 3 higher critical incidents for free. We do have to put a limit on the number of incidents because we do have a high cost of human capital of that. There's real people behind keyboards, banging keys and sifting through stuff to make it happen. Like Paco mentioned when he spoke with David, one of our reps, it's even if you decide not to use this, at least you'll have an idea of maybe, what could have been lurking in the shadows and what was going on. We would absolutely hope that you would choose to use this. But yeah, and it's, reach out to us. We're happy to answer those questions. We're happy to help you get it deployed, get it integrated, and just, give it a good run and see how it goes. We even do, sometimes I do a live malware demo on some of the calls. If somebody wants to see that, we do a technical demo during your trial. If you want, we can do that. It's a lot of fun, a lot of good stuff. And once the show circuit starts picking back up, come see us when we're around, or find the virtual events we're at. We're going to be doing a bunch of that too. It's easy to find us and easy to check us out. So.
And I would encourage everybody to go check them out. 21-day free trial, unlimited endpoints. You can't beat it. And then, you know what? Hey, you'll know exactly what's going on or not going on your system. So that's good. All right, Tom, if people want to find out more about what your crazy annex, your things that you do on YouTube, where would they go?
We haven't wrecked anything in a little while. We need to do that soon. We'll celebrate that because we haven't blown anything up in a while. Anyways, we've blown us a few printers. You'll find those on my channel, but that's usually not what my channel is about. You can find everything starts at lawrencesystems.com. And from there, there's links to all the places you can find me and, of course, all my videos.
Awesome. Appreciate you coming out and sharing your side of the story with Huntress and how you've been using them in your business. Very helpful. Paco, if people want to find you, where would they go?
To this fine programming every Sunday, 7:30 Eastern Daylight Savings Time, or you can go ahead and head to TechCon Unplugged in September 25th to the 27th. We got quite a few vendors that are lined up, and hopefully all this craziness will be over by then. Hopefully the summer will get rid of all that. And it's going to be a great time. It was a great time last year. We hear you as far as the listeners. We are working on new vendors to come to the show. We will have some new speakers as well. Maybe even somebody on this channel that we're doing the show with, but we'll see. But basically, you can find us here, and TechCon Unplugged.
All right. Thank you. You can watch live and hang out in the chat room over on youtube.com/MSP Unplugged. You can also subscribe using your favorite podcatcher so you never miss an episode. Listen every week. It's only once a week, an hour or so of your time to learn and become better in your business. Thank you for subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on MSP Unplugged.